When a trusted friend's betrayal turns her life upside down, Malika Masters faces false accusations, imprisonment, and humiliation. Her once peaceful world collapses overnight, but her faith refuses to. Through hardships, injustice, and heartbreak, Malika discovers that God's grace still flows through life's darkest valleys. Each trial becomes a step toward purpose, each tear a seed of transformation. Live to Fight Another Day is a powerful story of faith, resilience, and redemption. A reminder that even when life breaks us, God is still working behind the scenes to make us whole again. You don't lose when life knocks you down. You lose when you stop getting back up.
Isn't it a bit too early to be calling her house about the missing car keys? Niko insisted. Malika ignored him, dialing Emma's number. It was not entirely clear who might have had the car keys or where they might have ended up amid the commotion. So much had occurred in the previous 2 days. First, the wedding, followed by her car accident. Emma should have been on her honeymoon, but she went to the hospital first thing in the morning after her marriage. Emma is Malika's only child, which placed a burden on her during emergencies. Malika had never called Emma so early in the morning, but something about that morning forced her to do so on that Monday. It took Emma a while to answer the phone. Upon hearing the fright in her voice, Malika felt a shock wave running through her. "Mother, where are you?" The sheer fear in Emma's voice made Malika think that the call was to someone from beyond. Malika tried to make sense of what was being told as Emma rambled on in their native tongue. Still, the more Emma spoke, her voice obviously trembling with terror, the more Malika became confused by what she was told. Finally, she spoke. "Emma, are you sure it is me they are looking for? Why do they want to arrest me? There must be a terrible mistake." There was a slight pause. Then Emma responded in their native dialect, afraid of being overheard by the officers. "Yes, it is you, Mother," she whispered into the receiver. Malika could not fathom why the police were there for her. "What do they want? Are you sure they asked for me?" Now nothing made sense. Emma answers, "They asked for Malika Masters. Isn't that you?" Her voice echoed with frustration. Malika still could not come to terms with what was happening. It was as if the sky had fallen. She always conformed to society's norms and morals. What could have brought this on? "What did they say that I did?" Malika asked again, her voice now trembling. "They said nothing about what you did, but they said that you should turn yourself in today." Malika cried out in distress. "Oh my God, what have I done? Why are the police looking to lock me up?" Niko, who was nearby, overheard her distress call and hurried over to her, realizing something was amiss. Seeing the fright in her, he sternly demands, "What is going on? Is everything okay?" Malika explained, "The police are at Emma's house looking for me. They have a warrant out for my arrest." Emma had encouraged Malika to spend the previous night with her and her new husband, but she had flatly refused. Now grateful she had, the thought of her handcuffed and treated like a criminal moved the very earth beneath her. Even worse, her family witnessing it would be too much for them to bear. Malika wondered, what could I have done so wrong? I cannot think of anything that would cause a warrant for my arrest. As she paced the floor back and forth, Niko, her live-in boyfriend, became upset, for good reason. She ignored his questions and insinuations as he openly voiced his concerns, putting her in an unflattering light. Malika kept her composure, hoping to develop a plan for dealing with this. Her thoughts raced with fear. Now was not the time to succumb to it. "I needed to calm my nerves," she told herself. She steeled herself not to cry, to maintain clarity in deciding, but what should be her next move? How could anyone outmaneuver the authorities when they wanted them? Malika looked across the room at the clock on the wall. It had been 20 minutes since she had last spoken to Emma. She dressed quickly. She had completely forgotten about the car accident that had occurred the day before, now laser-focused on the task at hand, determined not to be made a spectacle of by publicly hauled off to jail in handcuffs. The police would soon be at her doorstep. The only logical option for escaping was leaving the house. A language barrier caused issues between Malika and Niko during the crisis. Malika's mind was scrambling for all options to make it out of this dilemma, and she lacked the patience and time to fill in the blanks for him. Malika naturally spoke in her native tongue during stressful times, and Niko became visibly frustrated, rightfully asking, "Baby, what is going on? Do not just stand there looking spaced out. I need to know what is happening here. You owe me an explanation." Overwhelmed by the rapid fire of her moment, she fought back with the onset of an island woman's anger. She was unsure who she was angry at, but she was. Looking at him as if he were a stranger, she responded coldly, "Listen, Niko, you can hang around until the police come. I am not. I am going for a long walk to figure out what my next move should be." Malika looked as if she were hallucinating as they went for a long walk together through the side streets and the nearby alleyway, and he followed her reluctantly. Malika spoke as if she were in a daze. "We came through the side streets from the alleyway." She pointed out the directions on their way back to their place. Reality had set in, and she had to face the music. Upon their return to their place, her fear had become her nightmare. "Malika, the police were here, and they searched the entire building. The police searched for your car and the adjacent empty apartment. They took the car's license plate number. They are determined to arrest you today. I do not know what you have done to warrant this, but whatever it is, God will work it out for you. Are you going to turn yourself in today?" At least 6 of them came in with guns drawn. You know what they are like when handing out their brand of justice to us. They will not think twice about using their guns on you. Report yourself to the authorities as soon as possible. Here is the address with the name of the arresting officer you should ask for. A neighbor handed it to her. Accepting the piece of paper from her neighbor, Malika walked into their apartment. Unsure about what to say or do, Niko kept his gaze fixed on her, following in silence. Malika searched through her papers and found a business card for Paul Bander, a friend she had known for years. She paused as she looked at his business card. Malika was searching for answers, and this card held more than it led on. She wondered about calling him, if he had anything to do with the nightmare she was experiencing. What was calling going to do? Instinctively, she felt he must have, but what was the point? Calling him would not change the tide of her destiny, neither would it calm the storm that was now raging. Rummaging through her documents as Niko paced back and forth, puffing incessantly on a cigarette as the ringlets of smoke danced in front of his face, silently watching them dissipate into the thickness of the air again, he blew another, then another. His pacing became unnerving. "You are making me nervous with your pacing back and forth," she snapped. "Please stop. Your pacing across the room makes me more nervous than I already am." Niko responded, "Sorry, baby. I wish I had taken you away from this place months ago. If we had gone to Greece, they could not even have touched you. The thought of your being placed in handcuffs is just too much for me. Baby, think hard about whom you have associated with in recent years. I am sure it is someone you know." Recalling the sickening feeling she got earlier when looking at Paul Bender's business card. Her suspicions now centered on him. Separating her documents by their importance, she filed them into two categories. Niko's negative energy was impregnating her spirit. She tried to control her emotions by calmly inquiring, "Honey, do you remember Paul Bender?" Niko frowned at hearing the name. He had met Paul only once, while dining out. She continued, "I have this gut feeling that this has something to do with him. He had me sign 2 declarations of facts for immigration support for his friend years ago. It was a strange thing for him to ask of me, but he is a notary public and an income tax preparer. He could not be that stupid to defraud the government." I agreed after he had been asking me for 3 months straight, because he assured me it was not illegal to do so once I was gainfully employed with a salary to prove my ability to assist as stated. But it does not matter now. My worst nightmare has begun, and there is nothing anyone can do for me except God. Malika's mind raced back and forth. Never had she been this afraid. She thought aloud, "What does God have planned for me? I am unable to fight my way out of this one. Lord, I leave everything to your will. A warrant for my arrest?" Whatever or whoever brought this upon her, Malika wished she could erase whatever terrible mistake she had made, one for which she was now about to pay dearly. The reality of what confronted her hit her like a bolt of lightning. Gazing at Niko, her live-in boyfriend, she hoped he might provide an answer or a less severe outcome, but she found no refuge there. The look in his eyes reflects her fears. He could do nothing. The finality of her reality left her gasping for air. Feeling trapped and helpless, she came undone. "Niko, why, oh why is this happening to me? I did not get involved in wrongdoing or put myself at risk years ago, even when offered more money than I ever had in my life. I took no shortcuts. I did my best, adhering to society's norms, and this is what I get? Look how hard I have worked. Even when I was sick, I still went to work." She threw herself against him, encircling his neck with her arms, nestling her head against his chest as she wept bitterly. The tension in his body caused her to pull away from the embrace. In that moment, she realized that the reality of what had happened was not only complex for him to understand, but also more challenging for him to accept. She retreated to the opposite side of the room, peering through the living room window for any approaching police vehicles. When she turned to face Niko, what she saw in his eyes sent shivers down her spine. It was clear. There was no way out of the inevitable. Niko could not change what was about to take place, and neither could she. Malika picked up the 2 bags she had placed on the bed earlier, which contained her documents. She left the apartment and went next door, knocking at the neighbor's door with whom she was friendly. "The door is unlocked. Come on in." "Hi, Mrs. Smith. Could you please hold on to these documents for safekeeping? Emma will come by to pick them up. I just learned a warrant is out for my arrest." Mrs. Smith's initial response was one of shock. Gathering her thoughts, she consoled her. "Malika, this is upsetting. What brought this about? I do not know. Oh my, whatever it is, they have proof of it. That is why they issued a warrant for your arrest. Anyway, my dear, whatever you do, turn yourself in. You know their brand of justice towards us. I do not want any harm to come to you. It is quite unfortunate, considering how hard you have worked to be in this position. You are the hardest working woman I have ever met. Anyway, I want you to know I am here for you, and I will see you through it. Thank you, and God bless you. I am leaving shortly. I am not sure where to turn, but I need to find a safe space to think this through." Despite the turn of events, Mrs. Smith's optimism had a steady effect. She regained composure, and with a glimmer of hope and clarity, she knew what she had to do. Returning to her apartment, she looked calmly at Niko seated on the sofa. She whispered, "Niko, I am going to turn myself in. Lisa, Emma's friend, is on her way to pick me up. You have enough time to find another place to live since we paid the rent for the apartment through the middle of next month. You have a car to take you to Clearwater, where you have established relationships. There is enough money in the bank to cover you until the transfer from Greece arrives. Niko, I am so sorry. I am terribly sorry that it had to end this way. I wish things had been different, but that is just the way it is. Just remember to keep your trust in God, because God will never let you down the way people do." Niko's stony expression crumpled into that of a broken man. It had been several hours since he had become aware of her dilemma. However, he did not want to accept it. His lips quivered as he tried to express his emotions, but failed, tears rolling down his face as he stared at her helplessly. Realizing her emotions were as raw as their circumstances, Malika's heart melted with compassion. Moving into his space, she kneeled at his feet, gently placing her head against his chest. As he sank onto the sofa, she embraced him. He responded kindly, cradling her head. They cried in each other's arms. They knew this was the end of their life together, their future endeavors cut short by her past actions. Saying goodbye was the hardest thing. Malika hoped her troubles would be resolved so they could have a chance in the future. Although she knew better from the lessons of her past, faith, which breeds hope, was her redeeming value. This was the sinew of her soul that kept her going throughout life. Accompanied by Lisa to the police station, she introduced herself to the guard at the door. "My name is Malika Masters, and there is a warrant out for my arrest." The guard called out to a coworker, "Klein, please take over my post. I am escorting her to the processing area for booking without making eye contact," he instructed Malika. "Follow me." Walking through a tunnel of doors and security checkpoints, Malika felt like a lamb being led to the slaughter. She kept her head high and her emotions in check, pacing her stride as the officer escorted her. Each step was laborious, as she was being led to a new reality she was unfamiliar with. Mistakes from her past now punctured her present and threatened her future. She kept calm so as not to succumb to what awaited her within the enclave of those walls. "God, I do not understand this, but I still trust you." Coming soon, Episode 2, The Surrender. Malika faces the system that will test her strength, dignity, and faith. Stay tuned.